Hey, what up, everybody? Stevie Breach coming to you. I'm sitting here and I'm reading things on, the sheets, basically when I got home today. And there's one thing that really doesn't really make sense. I mean, I know that there's a lot of stories out there about budget cutting. We've seen a few, wrestlers get released over the past few months. A lot of people from developmental. They killed off WWF Magazine. That's a video that I should have made. All those old times reading those old magazines. I don't honestly think that WWE Magazine has been relevant in at least, I'm going to say 5, but I mean, honestly, it could be 10 years is when like the magazine sort of changed to you don't really need it kind of deal. Everybody's trying to look for a way for WWE to save some bucks. And one of the things they're thinking of doing is bringing back the Raw and SmackDown Super Shows. First thing I thought of when I thought of the Raw and SmackDown Super Show was when Triple H came into order and on camera was starting to run the WWE. He said that he was going to bring the people from SmackDown and put them on to Monday Night Raw and call it the Super Show because he wanted to make Monday Night Raw the biggest show he could make it, and he wanted to have all the talent there. And that was basically where they started tearing down the walls of the brand split, and it just made it like where all the wrestlers were on Raw and all the wrestlers were on SmackDown, instead of just the good old days that maybe like around 2002 when this first started was, you were able to keep guys separate by, trying to keep a feud fresh and keep it all the way until WrestleMania by putting this guy on Raw and this guy on SmackDown and saying that's it. But basically, what they mean by doing Raw and SmackDown Super Shows is that they're going to be doing super tapings, or they film, 3 hours of Monday Night Raw, and then they film SmackDown right after it. I don't think that they can do this on a normal basis because of the normal reasons of how many shows they have to film for it. When you go to Monday Night Raw, it is a 3-hour event, well, probably about 4 hours, honestly. And, I mean, like, it is enough wrestling that you're like, that was awesome, that was a good time. I don't really see people making it an all-day event to head out over, let's say if it's in Sacramento, California, heading over to, Arco Arena and sitting down and wanting to watch, an hour of main event, an hour of Superstars, 3 hours of Monday Night Raw, and 2 hours of SmackDown. That's way too much wrestling. I love wrestling, and there's no way in the world I'm sitting through that. I'm getting up out of my seat more than likely at the end of Monday Night Raw. I might want to check out and see what maybe SmackDown is about and watch the first segment or so, but there's no way in the world I want to sit through 3, 4, 5, 7 hours for one taping. Are you kidding me? One thing they could do is maybe do some sort of a taping like they used to do. I remember going to this taping that was at least 5 hours long of WWF Superstars back in the day in the 90s, but that was jobber match, jobber match, jobber match, jobber match. Hulk Hogan, we go home. I mean, like, it was just, crazy the way they used to do things back in the day. Maybe they could get away with doing some sort of Superstars really isn't, jacked or metal or one of those shows from back in the day like Superstars used to be back in the day, where it's just, Santino Marella against the guy who delivered the beer truck that day. It's actually, the Superstars that are actually on the roster that they're matches that aren't, going to be like, I really got to see this match, but if you are watching it, you're not bored out of your mind. You get to see guys like Titus O'Neil. You get to see, I don't know, who's on the bottom of the barrel of WWE. You get to see the Matadors. You get to see, if Santino was still going today, the guys like that. There are these people that you get to see on Monday Night Raw or SmackDown every once in a while. Maybe they could get away with doing one taping where it's just nothing but Superstars matches. Maybe you could have, to get people into the arena, maybe you sort of build it like it's a house show, and you have super matches on the end where you give away, Bray Wyatt versus John Cena. You do, Sheamus against, I don't know who would get your butt in there to see Sheamus, but yeah, maybe they do something like that where it's a separate taping where you're able to do some Superstars matches, some main event matches to sort of get you ahead of the game, and maybe you can just make those other tapings 5 hours long. But I know when I went to the Royal Rumble Go Home SmackDown, it had The Rock, it had CM Punk, it had, what else was going on there? I can't really remember a whole bunch that was going on. Oh, Big Show versus Alberto Del Rio was the main event of the night, but we had to sit through Superstars. We had to sit through main event. We had to sit through SmackDown, and by the time that show was over, I wanted to take a nap. It was just too damn long. There's no way in the world I would sit through another taping like that. I would if I had to, but they need to find a way to shorten it up a bit because, even as Zach, I talked to Zach about that show, and he just said it was too much wrestling. I've been to one Raw double taping that was after SummerSlam 2010, and honestly, in my opinion, that was too long. They filmed, the 2 hours of Monday Night Raw, and then they filmed another episode of Monday Night Raw after it, and that one, because they didn't have really commercial breaks, it was just like, boom, match over, get him out of the ring, and bring the next guys out. It wasn't as long. It still was an hour and a half. But I mean, the 5 hours of wrestling is an eternity, especially if you're sitting there and there's some stuff that you're just not really caring about. So find some other way to save some money because that's not one way I want to spend my days.